Sailor just released a completely redesigned piston filler with an interesting twist. Let's take a closer look. This is the new model called the Profit Realo 18. The first thing you will notice is this indentation in the middle of the barrel. Also, there's no dedicated ink window. It's based on Sailor's flagship Profit model, which is also known as the 1911 in some markets, and it comes with an 18-karat monotone gold nib. Now, Sailor might be famous for its 21-karat nibs, but the insane gold prices over the last few years has made those nibs just too expensive. So Sailor had to adjust, and most of their newer models now feature 14 and 18-karat nibs. The pen is made from a translucent smoky resin, or clear black as Sailor calls it. This means you can easily check your ink level without needing a window. Unlike Sailor's previous Realo piston filler, this new design actually lets you unscrew the section. When you do, you will see this plastic section connector sticking out. It looks a bit odd, but there's a good reason for it. You can swap in another section from a standard cartridge-converter model. This connector mates right to the underside of the section, exactly where you would normally push in a cartridge. This isn't by accident. Sailor is highlighting this as a major selling point in the press release. So if you have a plain black cartridge converter pen with a juicy Naginata Togi nib, you can swap that one right in. Sailor hasn't listed which specific models are compatible, but I did some testing. I found that the full-size Pro Gears and Profit both fit perfectly. The smaller Slim and Standard models don't fit, which makes sense given the barrel diameter. Older models work too. Here's a Theta with a large 14-karat nib, and it fits perfectly. I also have this 80s or 90s era large zoom nib from an older Profit model, and it screws right in. By the way, I'm not sure if you can tell, but this nib looks a bit different from modern zoom nibs. It's flatter rather than faceted. Some of that might be due to wear, but I actually showed it to Yukio Nagahara at an event a few years ago, and he explained that the old zoom nibs were really shaped differently, and in his view, that flatter profile was the correct way to make them. Interestingly, the sections on these modern bespoke pens do not fit. If you look closely at the underside of the section, the geometry is slightly different. Now, of course, if you know what you're doing, you could just pull out the nibs and swap them directly. But that voids your warranty, and if you're not careful, you can easily damage the feed or even the nib itself. Going back to that indented barrel design, it seems intentionally designed to stop you from pushing the piston down too far and accidentally detaching it from the threads. It's certainly functional, though I'm a bit on the fence about the aesthetics. The piston mechanism seems to be entirely plastic. There's this odd-looking extension tube sitting on top of the piston head. It fits into the section connector and probably functions like a syringe. When you fully retract the piston, you can see the spindle tip resting inside the blind cap. I'm not sure it's the most visually pleasing piston mechanism, but it does have one big advantage, and that's ink capacity. The old Realo maxed out at 1 ml, which is about the same as a Sailor cartridge. This new design holds 50% more. By the way, the name Realo apparently stands for Reliance and Locus. Something might have gotten lost in the translation there. Sailor first introduced the original Realo back in 2006 for the 95th anniversary. It was a massive king of pen size piston filler with a juicy Naginata Togi nib. 3 years later they released the standard Realo line. Those were based on the regular Pro Gear and Profit bodies and had less ink capacity. From what I could tell, they never really took off. We'll see if the new model fares any better. While the barrel design might be polarizing, the swappable section is a genuinely good idea. But personally, I would love to see a version sold without a section, or at least one with a cheaper steel nib. I mean, if using your existing nibs is the main selling point, then why force buyers to pay for another gold nib? So it's a fascinating idea with a slightly odd execution. In other words, classic Sailor. The retail price here is 66,000 yen. But if you want a zoom or music nib, it bumps it up to just over 68,000. A few years ago, that kind of price tag would have the fans reaching for the pitchfork, but by 2026 standards, it honestly doesn't seem that crazy. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.